What's up, Internet? Welcome to a very special episode of Nintendo Noise, where we are here to react to the Nintendo Direct of September 23rd, 2021. I'll just come right out and say it, a banger of a Direct. We just finished watching it just a few minutes ago. Sorry if that intro was a little janky. We're trying to do everything live so we can put this right up. So if there are any errors, anything you'd normally see cut out, it's all the... You're going to see how the sauce is made, is I guess what we're saying on this one. But, like I said, I wanted to get this up as soon as possible right after the event. So I've already said how good I thought it was. Chuy, Steve, what are we thinking?
I'm going to pass over to Chuy first because there was something announced in the show which I know he's been waiting for a very, very long time.
Yeah, Bayonetta.
Of course. I mean, that's the only thing I could ever want. No, I'm a happy camper. I thought there was a lot of stuff in there. I'm pumped that next month is going to be all dedicated to Animal Crossing. So, I mean, we didn't get anything too substantial outside of, like, of course, Brewster's coming, but we didn't get to see, like, the inside or anything. But just the fact that they're going to let loose a ton of news on us next month is huge for me. This has to mean like version 2.0 of the game. So I'm pumped.
Seems that way.
Pumped. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing some more predictions from you, like further down the line, as to whether you think there's going to be some paid DLC or if you think there's... Thanks, Alexa. Or whether you think there's going to be some paid DLC or whether you think it's going to be... just free updates in this presentation, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it's not just a month of Animal Crossing. We also got that final fighter for Smash, which I 100% thought was going to be here, and then they did the like fake out of like, no, it's going to be here on the 5th of October, or the 5th of October, I read as like the 10th of May, and I was like, this is just so fucking long away.
I do get them wanting to add to the fanfare of that, right? Because it is going to be Sakurai's last presentation. It's the last, update we'll have to Smash Ultimate. So totally understand wanting to add a little pomp and circumstance to the occasion, Speaking of pomp and circumstance, let me just tell you real quick, if this is your first time joining us, welcome to Nintendo Noise, the weekly video game, Nintendo, I don't have the script in front of me, weekly Nintendo podcast from Flip Screen Games, there we go, where the three of us get together and talk about all things Nintendo. If this is your first time joining us, we are, of course, a weekly Nintendo podcast. We drop every Wednesday, and we are there talking about everything going on in the world of Nintendo, reactions and news, but also, what we're playing on Switch, and some weird main topics like naming the hottest Nintendo character or, speculating about the N64 stuff that ended up coming true. So if that sounds like your bag, if you end up enjoying this episode, I hope you'll go check out the main show proper. Give us a like, a share, a subscribe. And if you really like it, we got a Patreon and all kinds of other stuff. We stream, come check it out. If this is your point of entry for us, make sure you go check out all the other cool stuff that we're doing over at flipscreen.games. That's our website where you can get links to all of our other content and all the places that we are, including our Discord and all that kind of stuff. So if you dig what we're doing here, come be a part of the community. All right, so where do we want to start with this one? Because frankly, this is one of those presentations where I feel like it's hard to choose what the quote-unquote big thing is to start with,
Well, if it's consider like in Nintendo's mind, the top three were Kirby, Bayonetta, and then the Monster Hunter DLC, where they showed nothing. Like that was the three they headlined on their press release, which is just wild to me. But I'm curious as to what your most hype announcement was. I asked on Twitter what everyone's most hype announcement was. Affy said 3D Kirby. Yano, aka Olaf, said obviously all those awesome remake versions of the Mario Party boards for Mario Party Superstars. And then Tyler was just hype for Jack Black in Mario,
in the Mario movie. Yeah, we got all kinds of weird updates there.
That cast is just wild. I'm so surprised that I thought the last thing we heard about this was it was like canceled or something. So for me, I was just like, oh, okay. Mario movie's still on. Cool. I'm down.
Oh, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah. But it was the moment they were like, and Chris Pratt is going to voice Mario. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't love that choice. But, some of these choices are definitely weird. But, like, when I forget the name of the studio that's working on it.
Illumination.
Thank you. Like when they announced that it was Illumination working on it, I kind of expected it to be that kind of, they have a brand, right? Like if you go look up what other movies Illumination has done, I think you can get a sense of what kind of comedy this is going to be. And the fact that they have a bunch of big name, comedians and actors.
It's the Minions. It's the Minions crew. So if you've seen any of the
Despicable
Minions
Me.
movie,
So like, I know people like it's become a meme about how much people hate Minions, but it's they definitely are a studio with some chops, but they also definitely have a very specific brand. So it's a cast list that makes a lot of sense.
Just wait for the Mario Minions crossover. Everyone's gonna lose their minds.
People will love it.
I remember when but do you remember when the Mario Rabbids crossover was leaked ahead of time and how everyone just panned it, and then we saw it and we were like, oh, actually, this is a really good game. So I think
I don't know if the Minions crossover is gonna have the same reaction, but maybe.
No, I feel like Rabbids everyone had the same impression of Rabbids as they do of Minions. I feel like everyone hated those stupid Rayman Rabbids, which then broke out of Rayman and became their own thing. And then they added them with Mario.
We're here to talk about the Direct. You're getting us off on a whole other. Step off your soapbox about Minions and Rabbids for a minute, and let's talk about. You asked us what's the most exciting part of the Direct, and then you drove us right to talking about the movie, which is probably the thing I would talk about.
It was not me.
I was Tyler, but you drove us there. The other two threw out actual games we could have talked about. So I think if you're asking me what's the most hype announcement, I think I have to say the Kirby news, because I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land, obviously there was the story a couple weeks ago about the update to Nintendo's website, which was the same kind of one that Animal Crossing had gotten, and it seemed to point to the idea of there being a new Kirby game. I think we even discussed it on last week's show. And, so it's not exactly... and then it leaked earlier today, right? So it's
that was what was really disappointing for me. Like I saw the screenshot and it's just like I kind of know what this is going to be looking at that.
That said, though, the screenshot was just the art, right? It wasn't that it was a 3D Kirby game. We got a pretty good look at it too, and it really looks a lot like Kirby Crystal Shards, which was the Kirby title on the N64 and one of my favorite Kirby games, especially when I was a kid. So it definitely got a pop at it.
Play that again. That's coming to Switch as well, right?
It is, yeah. And that I think is probably number 2, which is similar, right? Like we knew N64 games were coming, but actually getting the announcement, getting to see some of the games that are going to be coming, there's a lot there. I think that is exciting, and that I'm excited to dig into.
Yeah, and kind of going off of yours, like obviously Animal Crossing is huge for me, but like hearing that Nintendo 64 games are coming out of this,
Banjo made it too. We got the rare game.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm way more excited about the Genesis. It's like we heard nothing about it, and then there's a Genesis controller that goes with it as well, and it came out of nowhere. And that opens the doors for other consoles as well now and other platforms to come to Switch Online, which I think is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think that's actually huge news. Like, that's something that it really, like, opens things up in a way that, not to say that they were impossible before, but I don't think any of us expected that a non-Nintendo series of games would come, because we've talked so much about how more and more it feels like, all of the major publishers and developers that really do have that kind of bench of IP, like a Sega, are figuring out their own way to sell those games to us, and make money putting them out on Switch, not just putting them out on NSO, but I guess either Nintendo came knocking with the right price point, or they realized that the diehard fans that were gonna buy those re-releases will probably buy them anyway if they have an attractive enough package, whereas like the casual retro player who just wants to jump in and out of games from time to time is far more likely to play them on NSO.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, they had to come with a good deal, especially because, like, we didn't get a price for this quite yet. So I don't know what that's gonna be, but I'm guessing it's gonna cover whatever they had to pay to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that probably the $15 rise on the yearly plan that was rumored is probably
I hope
true
it's
based on what
10.
they've shown.
Like 15 I don't think is unreasonable, but I think 10 would feel better.
I'm
Yeah,
already expecting the family plan to go to 64, just so it all lines
I
up for.
I think they like their solid numbers. I could easily see that going to 70 for the year because it's like, what did they call it? The expansion pack. And I was really disappointed that it was pack with a C and not pack with just PAK like the N64 expansion pack was. I think that
Yeah,
would have been so good. They missed a trick there. I really do.
the Rumble Pack. They could have just called
Yeah,
it that.
exactly. They were so good. Everything used to be PAK. It was like game pack, rumble pack, expansion pack. It was so good. Um,
Hmm.
there was a couple for me other than the like Nintendo Switch Online stuff, which I think was the biggest one, and obviously Kirby. Um, I was very excited about Disco Elysium finally coming. I've been wanting to play that game for so long. It's been exclusive to PC and PlayStation since its release, and that's coming next month. It's coming in October, so I'm really excited to finally play that one, October 22nd. I'm probably not going to get physical. I know that's coming next year, but I just want to play that game, and I've been really excited about it. And same as Olaf, I have been waiting to see the other boards on Mario Party for the longest time. We got I can't remember the name, the Woods one. We got the like
Is it
the
Woody
Booze
Woods or
Castle,
something?
Woody Woods. Yeah, so we got
Yeah, yeah.
all of these awesome boards come through, as well as some new modes. Like the 2-player co-op mode looks amazing, and there's some of those that you can. There's some of those like courses that you can only play online. I'm really excited to see
Yeah, that
what
was
the
really cool to
online looks
see.
like on this.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
pumped for that. That was one of my favorite things to do in like those original. I think 1 and 2 had those modes where it was like the mini game challenge thing, and you were basically just trying to beat all of the mini games in this whole little story. So I like that they're doing that, but like it's an online game. You're competing against your friends and stuff. They're really. I like that direction that they're going with the online. They did it with WarioWare recently, and I've been racking up the hours on that game because of it.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that game is really looking like a wish list type game, right? Like if you had asked me
Hmm.
like, "Oh, what is your dream Mario Party game?" It more and more is looking like this game. It's exactly what I've been waiting for. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to get my hands on that. Like I remember when we were watching this one, Doc in the live chat over on Twitch was saying like, "Oh, when are we gonna play this?" And I was like, "Day fucking one? Are you kidding me? Like first week we're streaming this, baby. This is gonna be amazing."
They just need to add the dual mode from Mario Party 3. That mode is hilarious and I love it.
Oh, I've never played Mario Party 3. I've only
Wait,
ever
what?
played.
It's
I've
so
never played
good.
Mario Party
Really?
3.
Oh
Mario
my!
I've
Party 2
only
gets a lot of praise, but Mario Party 3 gets skipped over so
They're
much and
neck
it's
and neck.
yeah.
undeserved. It's so good.
Like three
It's
is
so good.
Now
almost, if not as good as two.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I've played Mario Party 2 and then I played everything since the GameCube. So everything since Mario Party 4 onwards. But I haven't played
Mhm.
original Mario Party and I haven't played Mario Party 3. But Mario Party 2 I think was the only one on Virtual Console before.
Yeah.
I don't
It
think you
was
could
on
get the
like
other
Wii
ones.
U Virtual Console. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Two
that's
you
where I played
could.
it at a friend's house.
Yeah, two I remember
Yeah,
I
just
had
Mario.
on
It
Wii.
was only Mario Party 2, but none of the others, which was a shame. I mean, maybe I was gonna say maybe they'll come to the N64 thing, but as we discussed on last week's show or this week's show, I guess on Wednesday, I just don't. I just don't see it coming, considering we've now got the packaged up version of all the best courses and all the best games. But in
Mhm.
any case, like it looks like they solved all of the problems that everyone had with Super Mario Party for Mario Party Superstars,
Yeah.
which is good.
I mean, the biggest one was real boards, and we got them. We got Woody Woods.
We got some of the
Yeah.
best boards ever, right? Yeah. Like, I think everyone that I was like, when that news first came out, I feel like I remember people asking us, like, what are the other ones we wanted to see? And I feel like everyone that I named, we saw today. So that's great.
Mhm.
Like, that's really promising, I think. Before we get too far away from this, I know, Steve, you called out being really excited about Disco Elysium. Asobi
Yes.
wrote in and said, "Pete, will you get Disco Elysium on Switch again, or is it too much to restart from the beginning for you?" I don't think I'll get it on Switch, but not because I don't want to restart from the beginning. I definitely want to play the game again, but I have it on PlayStation and I have a copy on PC that Zayd bought for me. So I think if anything, I would probably stream it like on PC or something like that.
Well, because the PC has that streamer mode as well, where people can help make the decisions, which is really cool.
Or you can lock it in where they get to make the decisions and you get no control, things like that.
It's so good. It's so good. But Disco Elysium is the kind of game that you can play over and over and over again because you can go down so many different routes in that. Like we went down one specific route just when we were streaming, and I think it was a route that you hadn't gone down. Like I remember right at the beginning of the game, you didn't get your second shoe, and you walked around with no shoe for
I was like, what the fuck? Like we immediately were finding things and doing things I didn't do because we had different stats.
Yeah, just straight away, just because we picked different stuff at the beginning, I could access areas that Pete couldn't, and Pete could do different things that I couldn't. It's really, really interesting. It's a fascinating game. I really can't wait to play it myself.
I'm pumped. I've been wanting to play that, and it just sounds so cool.
I really want to do a spoiler cast, maybe after you.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe I'll play it again, and we can all talk about it. But it's a long game too, which is probably the main reason I haven't replayed it. Is like if it was a slower year, I might have played it again right away. But I remember, and like when I was done with it, like I think I was like, okay, cool. This will probably be like a shorter game, right? And I was like, oh no, this is like a 40-hour game. This is like at least a 40-hour experience.
It's why I want it, because it's the kind of game I will play in bed, because there's not a lot of action I've got to do, and I can just chill out,
chip away at it.
And just chip away at the game. I'm curious as to whether this is on your Game of the Year list, because I know
Do you want me to tell you?
You can. I
tweeted about it earlier today, actually. I was tweeting about how I was thinking about Game of the Year, and I gave a list of honorable mentions to all the games that are, I think, like the most serious contenders or whatever that I said, and Disco Elysium is one of those games.
Good. I didn't know whether you considered it to be a Game of the Year contender, because obviously the original version came out last year with no voice acting. Yeah. It was a early access game.
The way that
was really...
I'm looking at it as the definitive edition is like the real 1.0 release, and not to say that it was a lesser game when it didn't have voice acting, but like this is like the finished product, clearly.
Yeah, and it's on other platforms now, so I think it definitely.
And it came to every other platform this year, so I think that helps the argument as well. That I feel like last year it was more of an early access title, even though it technically hit like a 1.0 release.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely on my Game of the Year shortlist, and it's a game that I think everybody should play. I mean, like, provided you like RPGs and if you dig like pen and paper, like choose your own adventure type games, it's an absolute must play.
I'm gonna go have a quick look at your list, because I'm also curious if Mario Golf is on there, because that is getting a massive update today.
It's in the conversation, but it's not on the short list right now. Like I could see that game being on my top 10, but I don't think it'll be in the top 5.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I think that makes sense. Yeah. But what did you two think of the golf update? Because you've both obviously been playing it.
I think it looks great. Like Oh, go ahead, Chuy. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I didn't get to play the last one enough. Like, they added the range things and stuff, and I had a good time with it, like, the first few days or so, and then I think I got into, like, moving mode again, but no, this one, once it hits, I'll definitely go and do a deep dive into it, because I really want to see, like, what these new characters do. It's really fun to see all of their kind of, like, special moves that they add on the speed golf mode. I love seeing those. They're hilarious, and they really mess people up, so I want to see how they wreck things.
I genuinely think New Donk City is like it might be my favorite course in the game too. Like these updates have been really good, so I'm stoked to see more of them continue to come. Like I think that is a game that I really enjoyed at launch, and like it was good at launch, but if they can keep bringing this quality of update to it on a regular basis for like a year or like 6 months or whatever, like I think it's a game that on the other side of it, like when they do finally do the last update or whatever, I think it'll be so much more worth it.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly like what this Mario Golf needs in particular, like just all of the wacky courses. Like New Donk City is a really good example of that. And as
Yeah.
long as they just keep adding weird things like that, where it's like just taking golf to places that you don't golf, it's what's fun about it for sure.
For sure. Yeah, like I like how New Donk City feels more like a mini golf course than like just a a green.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to see more things that take advantage of like the uniquely Mario stuff you can do in Mario Golf, you know?
Yeah. And it feels like they took it straight out of Odyssey. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so well rebuilt.
Yeah, it's such a good time. And like it has a ton of replayability considering how many different ways you can play it. And like start in different places and it's really great. So like yeah, I'm stoked to see another update of a similar caliber. I wonder how many more of these we're gonna get. I hope a few because they've been good meaty updates that have been like that have pulled me back into the game, which is the whole point, right?
I mean, it feels like they're kind of doing the same strategy that was a winning strategy for Splatoon 2, and I'm glad to see it because they went off that track for a long while. You just look at Mario Tennis; it was a disaster. They had no content planned after launch for that, and the game just left people's focus. I feel like ARMS suffered a similar fate. I think if they'd have continued to work on that game and add content to it, it would have maybe been a thing. But with the golf, it seems like they're adding courses and characters and all sorts of new modes. It's exactly what they did for Splatoon 2, and if they can continue to do that, even if it's just for the next 12 months, and then after that, maybe if it's still a big game, they do some kind of expansion pass, I think then people would be really satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of Splatoon, like we got a nice look at Splatoon 3. That was another real highlight for me. Splatoon is I know a franchise that both of you really love, and it's one that I have had spurts of a ton of interest in, but like it's never quite clicked with me, and I think a big part of it is not having folks to play with regularly.
Massively. I think if you'd have got to ranked and got to like the B- thing and got to experience stuff other than Turf War, because Turf War gets boring after a while. You want to go and play something else. But like Clan Blitz or Tower Control or one of the other like modes, I can't even remember them off the top of my head. Sure.
Rainmaker, Splat Zones, everything.
Yeah, Splat Zones is so good. Rainmaker, I'm terrible at, so I never play that one. But Splat Zones is amazing. I feel like if you got into those, Pete, you probably would have appreciated it more. But hopefully, Splatoon 3, when it launches next year, is the one to kind of hook you back in, because some of those new weapons looked insane.
For sure.
Like
the specials,
the Spider-Man one.
Yeah, the fucking grappling ability, and then there was like the one at the beginning where it was like a little mech, like, and it was like had like a turret on it, like so cool.
That's like the biggest thing for me with this game. Like, I think the first trailer kind of showed like the really high jump, like when you climb up a wall and you do a high jump and everything. And that's like one thing that I've always really enjoyed about Splatoon, like the movement that is associated with the game, where it's like a lot of shooters are like you can stand somewhere and shoot from somewhere, but like this one, shooting really plays into how you move around, and just like seeing all the things they're adding to change that movement is huge. Like it's gonna feel like a completely new game, I think, just based on like that Spider-Man thing, the little mecha suit, and even that really high jump. Like people already do some really wild maneuvers as far as like platforming goes on Splatoon 2. So I'm just ready to see like how they're gonna break this game with some of that.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited to have the opportunity to like jump into it at kind of like a level playing field with everybody, and not really, right? Because like you guys will still be better than me, but like we'll all be starting at the same place again, and it won't be like, oh, I'm like ranked 13 and Chuy's ranked 90, like I'm never gonna catch up, like that'll never happen.
That's gonna be week 2, right? So
sure,
Chuy's gonna be ranked 90.
He'll just totally eclipse me.
I think the difficulty in like the beginning of those games, it's that like everybody's at the same point, but they're not, you know? So
Yeah.
you don't know if you're going into a room with like somebody who's been playing the other games for how many years
1,000
now, you
hours.
know? So like that, I ran into that in Splatoon 2, because I played a lot of Splatoon 1, and it was just like, all right, I'm in this room, and I don't know if they're gonna be good or not, but we're in for the surprise here.
But I am. Yeah, and
Just carnage.
it'll definitely, it'll be I think it'll be easier to like probably group up and stuff like that too. Like you have to imagine there's going to be some real updates to the online and
it's going to be the new
Yeah.
system, right? It's going to be in there. They're using it for everything else now. So you'll
I think
group up
those-
your team up and then you'll go in.
I
Oh,
think those
man,
quality
if
of
they're-
life features will make a big difference too.
The invite feature alone, like just let your people group up before you go into a turf war. That's all we need.
Yeah, literally, that's all I want, because Turf was the fun one that you play on stream when you just chill in
Everybody
and
can
you
have
want
a
to play
good
with
time on
games.
it, right?
Yeah, everyone know, because even if you can't attack people, you can just spray the ground and you can just be painting and having a good time.
Which
But
is the objective.
yeah,
How do
but
you
when you
feel
can't
about
get
the-
into a room and you've just got to keep pressing A, like you can't join that friend yet, you can't join that friend yet, you can't join
Yeah.
that friend yet. Oh, I didn't get in time, and it's like counting down from 3 minutes, and I've just got to sit there watching a screen.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean they figured
What
it
are you
out
gonna
with
ask me?
Salmon Rush, right? Like
Oh yeah, Salmon Rush. That's
let
the
me
way it
group
should
up.
be done.
Just let me group up. But I was gonna ask, how do you guys feel about what we saw of the story mode? There's like the whole Return of the Mammalians thing. There was like all these like fuzzy tentacle guys, and like, are you getting the sense that it's gonna be more akin to the what was it, the Octo? What's it called?
So expansion.
Yeah,
Octo
Octo
expansion.
expansion. Like, do you feel like it's gonna be
Mhm.
more akin to that, just packaged in day one, or I don't know? What's the vibe you're getting?
I don't, looking at it, to be honest, but I don't know what Chewy thinks.
I'm always torn about it. Like I have not liked the base story modes in either game, like Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, but Octo expansion was just like, yes, this is what it should be.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's more in that direction. I think the problem they run into, I'm kind of expecting a mix of both, to be honest with you. Like there has to be a mode where players can get pretty well integrated into how the movement works and everything, and that's what the story mode like the base story mode does really well. Like it's like, here is a good way to practice all of these weapons and really learn how to interact with the environment, and that I think still is probably going to have to exist in the story mode, but I'm hoping like they just extend it a little bit more and really throw people into those challenges that came out in Octo expansion. So I'm torn about it. Like I couldn't really tell, is what I'm saying, and I'm hoping there's a mix of it rather than it just being very one-sided in what we've gotten in the past.
Yeah, I hope it's just like interesting enough that I actually want to play through it, rather than like put
Yeah.
hands on it so I can get. Okay, cool, great. Can I get to the multiplayer? Like, let me go play with my friends. Like,
I mean, that was the good thing. You never actually had to play it in the in Splatoon 2. You could just do the opening section where it teaches you the movement.
Right.
It's like a tutorial. Forces you to use motion controls and suffer through using those horrible things for 5 minutes.
You both have to play motion controls right now.
I tried,
learn.
Chewy. I tried, and I
You're
lost.
not trying hard enough.
I did 4 matches, and I lost all of them. And I was like, "This sucks." And I went
You have
straight
to
back to
do
the twin sticks.
50 matches. That's how many the phone app records. Do 50 and then see how you feel about it.
5-0. Oh my
5-0. What? That's like, just a quick afternoon.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like 3 hours. 3 hours. I'm just
Isn't
gonna
that how long
play.
people
you just got to
typically
eat
play?
shit for 3 hours, and then you'll be able to do it. Oh man. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I think that's one of my most anticipated games right now of next year for sure. It's gonna
That
be
and Kirby, right?
Yeah, that and Kirby. Let's talk a little bit more about Kirby, because we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we didn't get into too many of the details. Like, it's coming out apparently spring 2022 as well, which is interesting. It has been a bit since the last Kirby, so not the most surprising thing, but I'm kind of wondering, like, is HAL working on this game? Because we didn't see the logo anywhere, and I'm wondering if
we'll be able to find out now. It'll be on the Kirby Nintendo website. Yeah,
check it out.
You keep talking about it, and I go look.
Go for it. So I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's definitely a 3D Kirby game, and it's the first one of those. I mean, in this style ever, right? Because like even Crystal Shards was a 2D platformer that was just in 3D. So seeing it have like a more open kind of look is really, really interesting, and I mean, definitely a big step for the franchise. And it was one of the things that we kind of talked about, I think, last week when we were discussing the rumors about the new Kirby, and kind of that the franchise has felt like it's been in a rut for a little bit, and
it's been stuck in like baby mode 2D platformers, and we've kind of all got bored of what it was offering,
and just doing like a gimmick every time, and like this feels like a step forward. They're really trying something new while staying true to the franchise roots.
It's back to what made Kirby cool, which is you can become another one of those characters. And I joked on the stream that it's like, oh, it's Kirby Odyssey, but it very much does feel like that, especially considering Mario Odyssey, the gimmick is you become another character, or that is Kirby's thing as well. And I love the setting of this. I love that it's like in this post-apocalyptic land
world.
You're going through these like abandoned shopping malls, and then you're going like around these like cool areas with like towers, and then suddenly you're like on a beach. It's really cool. It's like there's a whole like plethora of areas to explore, and I'm really, really looking forward to digging into this one.
It kind of gave me like Bowser's Fury vibes a little bit.
It did.
Something about it
have that. I'm curious as to whether this is like one open thing, or it like Bowser's Fury, or if this is like level based. Yeah, like Odyssey. Because I think it kind of gives a little bit of impression of both, because I don't know if the beach is connected to the like city area. I'm looking forward to finding out more. But just to answer the previous question, yes, this is a HAL Labs game.
Cool.
And I kind of lean toward it possibly being like a connected world, just because we did see a moment where Kirby was like warping on the star, and that gave me the impression like, oh, maybe this is all connected and you just have warp points so you can travel to places a little bit quicker. So I kind of hope it is that way, because it was really well done in the Bowser's Fury thing.
Yeah, that in theory just sounds so appealing. Like a Bowser's Fury style game where you're playing as Kirby, like that really feels like a slam dunk to me.
But at the same time, I'm like, oh man, can we control this star? Because like the fast travel in Bowser's Fury was like literally like, here's Plessy and all of these other missions you can do on top of that. So like, even the fast travel like added game to it. Which
what if perfect. It's the warp star, but like it turns into a Kirby's air ride thing, and you have to
dope.
That would like
what I want.
That would be so sick. That would be so. Everybody would go nuts for that, right? Like it's not races, but it's the same kind of gameplay, and you're just like doing like grinding, like that'd be so cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for that game. I think that's one that excites me. It doesn't just feel like the next Kirby game. It feels like, could this be like the Kirby, like the Switch Kirby, right? Like how it feels like every, major franchise on the Switch has had an entry that you could like make an argument for being like the best one, like Odyssey is like a revolutionary Mario game. Breath of the Wild, so many people think is the best Zelda, right? Like I want Kirby to hit that bar for the Kirby franchise, right? It doesn't need to be as good as Breath of the Wild or Odyssey, but if it can raise the bar for Kirby again, I really feel like that will be exciting. If this is like a solid like 8.5, and it's like really tight and fun, I feel like that'll be a huge win.
Yeah, I can see that. I think Metroid Dread is kind of coming into that area as well.
Yeah,
people totally. To be really hyped for that. Especially we saw some more footage this time.
Fastest selling one. It's like pre-order is already like through the roof.
Surpassed all of them.
That's awesome, right? That's a big deal. Yeah. Like if that game comes out and delivers, it'll even if it's not the best Metroid, but if it's like you could make the argument that it's the best Metroid, like that will be so many people's entry point to that franchise, and they'll be like, Metroid is dope, I'm in. Give me 8 more of these. Give me one every year, right? Like that's what they want. That's what they really want to hit with that. You know?
I mean, that's what they need to do too. They need to hype people up for Metroid Prime 4. And I'll say that, like after seeing the footage today where we saw kind of like the environments and everything, I was just like, oh man, Metroid Prime 4, the environments are going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be so
awesome.
good.
I mean, let's talk about Metroid Dread. I think it looks great. Like I've been on record saying like I don't really love Metroidvanias. Like it's a genre that rarely clicks with me. There are definitely exceptions to that rule, but for whatever reason, like I don't always get in a rhythm with them, and I find it easy to kind of bounce off of them. You know, like even games that I know are great, right? Like something like Hollow Knight, which I played and was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I just kind of hit a wall with it and put it down and didn't come back to it. And that seems to be what happens to me with a lot of Metroidvanias. But like,
do you think part of it though is either the 2D aspect or the story / characters aspect, because you loved Jedi Fallen Order and that's a Metroidvania.
Sure. Yeah. And I feel like that had enough other things that were familiar and grounding for me, like the fact that it was, because like my least favorite part of it was navigating the map. But like I really like the combat, and I love Star Wars, right? So like it being a good Star Wars video game goes a long way with me, you know? So
we didn't have many of those up until that point, did we?
It's been a bit. It's been a drought, yeah. And I do think the 2D thing is part of it, because I love platformers. I like 2D games, right? But like navigating a 2D space can be confusing. I feel like I get turned around a lot. But even all those things, right? Like I didn't mean to go off on a tangent on why I don't like Metroidvanias. I meant to say that even with those caveats, this game is very enticing to me. Like it looks really good. I feel like it has such a good design philosophy. Like I just love the look of the environments and the worlds, and like I want to buy in, you know, like I want to get it. I want to like Metroid, and like I feel like this might be a good inroad for me, you know. I don't know if I'm going to take the plunge day one, because there's so many other games for me right now, but I really want to. You know, I think I'm gonna really consider it, you know?
You know what, Pete? Wait until I play it and report back and see what I think, because I kind of feel we're kind of aligned on Metroidvanias when it comes to that.
Yeah.
There's very few that I've really clicked with. Carrion is really the only 2D Metroidvania that I've enjoyed. Prey, which I'm playing at the moment, I'll talk about on the Flip Screen Games podcast, which you can listen to on Monday, has tons of Metroidvania elements to it, and I really like them. So I think probably some of the 2D elements to it is part of it. I think story also plays a big part, because when I've tried Metroid before, the story was just vague. And I know that those games are old and there's been a lot of lore that's been developed since. And Metroid Dread seems to really tap into that. So I think it might be the one and the entry point to jump in on the franchise.
Yeah. I think you could just, at this point, they spoiled all of them. You can get a pretty decent recap on Twitter.
I don't want that, because I'm waiting for the Game Boy games to come to Switch Online, which seemingly is going to happen now because the N64 stuff came true.
I mean, who's to say, though, right? Like, maybe the Game Boy rumors were out of whack and it was really the Genesis, because we had no idea that was coming. That just flew out of left field, but let's talk about those. We talked a little bit about that there's the expansion pack and everything, and that there's the N64 and the Genesis games, but we know it's coming late October. We don't have any update on the price or anything like that, but we did get a breakdown of a bunch of the games that are coming. So I'll read those real quick, and we got a bunch of questions on this. So for the Genesis, the launch lineup is a lot of the games you'd expect, with a couple pretty notable omissions. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hard Corps, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which I love that game. Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Musha, Phantasy Star 4, Restar, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master, and Strider. And then on N64, we've got Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Sin and Punishment, Dr. Mario 64, Mario Tennis 64, Win Back, and Yoshi's Story. And then they announced that they have a bunch of games that are upcoming, which has a lot of A-tier games on this list as well. And they promised that there were more to come. So, of course, we had Banjo-Kazooie, I think probably the biggest news.
I need to eat my hat when it comes to that because I just didn't think the rare games were coming on this week's show, and I was wrong. I'm hoping and praying for some of the others.
Diddy Kong Racing 4-player, can't wait.
Right? I should have put money on that one. Pokemon Snap, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, which you talked about earlier, Mario Golf, Paper Mario, and F-Zero X.
Yeah, I'm surprised about Snap and Golf because we've got Pokemon Snap and we've got a good Mario Golf.
They're different games, though.
I know they are different games, and I guess, Mario Kart 64 is a different game, but a lot of those things are the same. I don't know. I'm very surprised by the Genesis lineup. All sequels, I guess, because there's a Sonic game on the eShop and a Streets of Rage game on the eShop they want you to buy.
They're also better, right? Like Sonic 2 is better than Sonic 1, I think.
Sonic 1 is way better, I think, anyway. The Sonic and Tails is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of Tails,
oh my
honest,
God,
but...
come on, get out of here. So classic. they're
Streets of Rage 2, though. Streets of Rage 2 is phenomenal. I have that soundtrack on vinyl. It's so good. So good.
It is interesting. Because it's like, no Sonic 1, no Sonic 3, no Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, what? But I guess you gotta have stuff to add, right?
Yeah.
It would be like launching the NES online service and putting Zelda 2 on, and they're like, where the fuck is Zelda? And you're like, well, there's Zelda 2 there. Just play that one instead.
Yeah, I don't know. I would rather play Sonic the Hedgehog 2, so if it was only one, I'll take that. But I don't know. Like, it definitely feels weird. It is interesting because they didn't say that there were more Genesis games coming either.
I don't know that there are. I'm curious as to which ones of these aren't in the Genesis collection that you can buy for like $60, because there is the Genesis collection which has a bunch of Sega games in.
I bet you it has all these games.
It probably does, yeah. Contra's great as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
Golden
though, right?
Axe is awesome. Yeah, there's some really great games on the Genesis.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a couple of these. But yeah, I think that's like not unreasonable. Right, because like I do think that there are people that will buy that collection to play weird, obscure games or to have like options and versions that like we don't care about,
Well, and there's the Sega Ages collections, which added a bunch of new features in and new modes and all of that stuff that we've spoken about before. Right. They're really good ports, the Sega Ages stuff. Yeah,
fantastic series. Mm-hmm. They put a lot of love into those. But we got a bunch of questions about the N64 stuff. So this first one comes from Pixelpar, who wrote in and said, N64 controller, buy or bin? Buy. I'm buying.
Buy.
I didn't buy the
I think I want the Genesis one too, but I'm sad that it's a 3 button, not a 6 button.
I feel like it needs to be the 6 if I'm going to shell out, frankly.
Yeah.
But I want the N64.
Yeah, I've skipped all the controllers before, but this one I'm just like, what?
This is the one.
Wireless N64 controller. Plug me in.
Had to do it.
The dream.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like telling younger you that when you're older, there's going to be a wireless one and you won't have cartridges. You'll just open a little app on this thing, and then you'll go, what's an app? And you'll be like, never mind. Don't worry. You'll see in 20 years' time.
My one gripe is that I really wish that it wasn't the gray housing. Like, I really want it to be the clear purple one. That was my N64 controller. I wish they had a line of them,
Yeah.
I had a bunch of them. I had a blue one, a green one, the solid ones. My friend had the GoldenEye one, and I really wanted it. That
was the gold one?
Controller. Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah. I like the yellow one, too. I think what I probably will end up doing is buying a shell for this online and swapping it.
Yeah.
The problem is I like you'll have to wait, I guess, for China to start their engines because I doubt it's gonna fit.
No, I mean like when somebody on Etsy or something is gonna have this figured out eventually. There'll be 3.
You'll ship it off to Doc, and then you'll finally open up a controller on.
Oh, Doc, you want to do this for me? Oh yeah. So Zaid, aka Snackmite, wrote in and said, of course, one of our Patreon producers. Usually I say that during the preamble, but this is a special episode, so whatever. Thanks to our Patreon producers for the month of September. He wrote in and said, will DK64 come to Nintendo Switch Online? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? It has to. That's one of the
for sure.
signature
If
games.
Diddy Kong's coming, I think Donkey Kong is.
I mean, Banjo is, right? Like,
Yeah, that's why I meant Banjo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, in what fucking universe, right? It's happening. I bet you that's like a, they'll update that.
And
in a couple
eventually
months.
we'll get Banjo Tooie as well. So
Fingers crossed, man.
What about Conkers? Is that coming?
No way is that happening.
man.
I don't think Nintendo's putting Conker's Bad Fur Day on this thing. No way. I bet
I
you
don't
they
think
like
it
to
will,
pretend
yeah.
that game does not exist. Oh, man. We had a couple more on this one. Pixelpar also wrote in and said, do you think any online play features will be added to Ocarina/Majora's? Probably not. I
See,
can't
I
imagine
thought
what that
no.
would be.
But they added a bunch of like additional stuff. Do you remember they did those? They were sort of like ROM hack versions, and then they would release them again later. It was like the special edition version they did.
Yeah.
I think they did one for Link's Awakening and the original Zelda. They could do stuff like that.
Maybe they
I
do
would love
Master
to
Mode.
see. I was gonna say I would love to see
Oh,
Master
yeah.
Quest.
I
It
could
would
see
be really
that.
cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I could definitely see them doing that, actually. That could be really nasty.
hmm And even if they just did like little scoreboards for some of the timed challenges that they have in the later parts of the game, that'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'd also love to see them do like start a session and you can just swap controllers, which I think you can do with the NES thing anyway. I hope that follows over into the N64, so you could I could go, Pete, I really can't get out of this stupid stomach. Can you just do this bit for me? And then I move on with my life.
That'd be good. That'd be perfect for the streams that we obviously have to bring back now.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try and get back to that point in Ocarina
You do that while I
on
edit.
Switch,
I'll edit all
Yeah.
the video of what we've already done down.
and then we can start fresh.
yeah, folks can catch up. Well, we kind of started flirting with this question a little bit, so I'll ask this one. This one comes from Asobi as well, another one of our Patreon supporters who wrote in and said, what games that aren't already in would you like to see added for N64 and Genesis?
Genesis, I want Zombies Ain't My Neighbors because I love that game and it needs to come. And I would love to see Mortal Kombat as well.
Sonic
with
3
proper
and
blood.
Knuckles. Let's go.
N64, we spoke about it on the
Last week's
last
show.
episode, but my number one is GoldenEye.
Yeah. So, yeah, go check out last week's episode. We talked all about what N64 games we'd like to see. Yeah, I was never a big Genesis kid. I think really, like, the Sonic games are the games I'm most familiar with from the Genesis, aside from, what was that other one that I played? It's like you're like a robot guy. It's like a really big game. I can't think of it. Oh, it'll come to me probably.
I don't remember.
You on about the rare game where you are? Is this the N64 game?
No. It's a Genesis game.
Oh,
You play like a robot man, and it's like kind of 3D, but not. Oh, it's like right on the tip of my tongue. This is killing me. Vector Man?
See, I have no idea.
Let me look this up.
I thought you were on a Blast Core on N64, which I would love to see. Another rare game, which I don't think ever got a rare replay release.
Man,
But
the
Blast Core was
N64
good.
Yeah, this is
the
100%.
rare 64.
This is 100%.
It really is the rare 64. Yeah, they should have bought Rare and stolen it from Microsoft because they did so many good games.
They totally dropped the ball not buying Rare. That was such a mistake.
Yeah.
It was Vector Man.
I mean,
that's
the one
game.
I already mentioned, it's not listed quite yet, but Diddy Kong Racing is one that I
Totally.
want. And I know we've gotten different games from Japan too. Like they've gotten games that we have not received. I think their apps have Earthbound, for example.
We know what you're going to say,
but-
Chewy.
No,
The
they don't
original
have
N64
Earthbound.
Animal Crossing. That's what I'm gonna say.
Animal Forest. Let's go.
Yes, Animal Forest.
Animal Forest would
I
be
will
cool.
I will switch my region to play that like original version.
That would be
Yeah,
amazing.
so but Earthbound isn't available anywhere. It's not even on the Japanese release of
Oh, wow.
the Switch Online.
Why do they hate
And,
Earthbound?
Well, John from Nintendo Life, formerly Game Explained, was speculating on Twitter that it's a surprising omission considering it was everywhere last generation, and that there must be some reason why, and probably a remake is on the cards.
I hope that's true.
Mhm.
I would flip my wig.
Just give it to Grezzo. Get them to do it. Link's Awakening
No,
style. It'd be
just
so
do.
good.
I've been saying that since they showed the trailer. It literally looks like Earthbound. Just do it, please. My God. Or at least just put it on the app. Let me play it. I've been wanting to play it for years, and I never took advantage of it on the Wii U or the 3DS. But I want to now. I want it on the Switch. All right, so last question on the online additions to NSO stuff is another question from Grizzly Nina. This might be the first question from Nina. Sorry, she's got a few in here, though. So this is, of course, Nina, who is from Chuy's other podcast, Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast, and she was also on, episode 6 of Nintendo? 5 of Nintendo News, where we talked all about the Game Boy news. So go check that out if you want to hear some more from Nina. So Nina wrote in and asked, which Nintendo Online game are you excited for, and why is it Star Fox? Star Fox is definitely one of them. I love Star Fox 64. I would love to do some Star Fox 64 multiplayer streams. I feel like that would be really fun.
I think we should play Lilac Wars, and we should stream Lilac Wars on Twitch, because that's the correct name for that game. I do wonder if they're going to call it that in Europe still, because the 3DS release got renamed to Star Fox, which was a shame.
That's so funny. Like, why? Why do you guys give everything weird names?
I don't know. I can't think of anything else weird other than Dancing Stage.
Right, exactly. Anyway, I'm definitely excited for that one. I could definitely see us playing some like Mario Kart 64 and doing some battle mode and stuff.
Yeah.
There's definitely some stuff from that game that I missed.
Why, Pete? Right, you were talking to me about why you would go back and play GoldenEye. Why would you go back and play an old Mario Kart when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe exists?
Because my favorite Mario Kart battle mode is in 64. There's that one board with like the two
block layer.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Okay.
That's such a fun.
Fair enough.
If they had that in Mario Kart 8, then fine, but they don't. I mean, they do, but it's not the same.
It doesn't feel the same.
No.
Never liked battle mode or Mario Kart 8, if I'm honest. I don't.
It's not as good as Mario Kart 64. That's the problem. Now we got it back.
We peaked. We peaked early.
We did. I'm also really excited for Mario Tennis 64. That's my favorite Mario Tennis game.
Yeah,
love that game.
A great one.
Love it.
That's where Waluigi first came to be a character.
Yeah, the birth of Waluigi, of course. What an iconic game. And I really love Yoshi's Story too. So I'll play that again.
He's definitely going to be in Smash.
Can you imagine if he's the last character? People will fucking go nuts. They're going to go ballistic.
He's got to be. Nintendo on they don't have their heads buried under the sand. You know, they know people want him, and I think it would be good. But
we'll see.
What do I know?
Your predictions are trash, Steve. I mean,
they really are.
To be fair, you still got 1 point on me in our predictions game right now. So unless one of my other ones comes true, you're doing okay. We'll talk about that on Flip Screen Games this week.
Okay.
But a couple other big announcements like here and there, but I feel like we're getting through most of the stuff that we were most excited to talk about. We got another look at Triangle Strategy, which I'm very much looking forward to. As much as that is a really dumbass name. I love a tactical RPG. I think this looks like a lot of fun.
Gonna stick.
Yeah. Oh my God. We all called that, didn't we? Like, I feel like we all said that the last time.
Yeah, it was like great project game again. The same deal. I tried the demo of that game, Pete. Do you remember? It was just 20 minutes of reading, and I was just like, I'm not playing this game. I'm not playing it.
Steve hates stories and reading. Is what I've.
No, come on. It was
February.
It was such a stupid amount of dialogue to put when all I wanted to do, I just wanted to go in and I wanted to come into the podcast and go, I've tried the combat. I thought it was cool. I never even got to that stage because it was just so much dialogue.
Oh, God bless you, Steve. Oh man. But aside from that, we also got I mean, speaking of our predictions, right? We got to look at Bayonetta 3, which eat shit, Steve. That I told you we were going to see that game. Hell yeah, baby. I should have
was so
countered
close.
that prediction.
I made it almost 10 months into the year with hearing nothing about Bayonetta 3,
You were
and
so
then they have to
close.
go and reveal the whole game and the release date and everything about it. So I was just I'm not
close.
happy about
You
that.
were this
And I
close.
knew it was coming. I knew it was coming when I tweeted earlier that I should just concede defeat.
I mean, yeah, if you want to concede while you have one more point than me, that would actually be great, because then I
No,
can
because
win.
I forgot that you had one more point to go. So I think I'm going to win because your AAA port thing is bogus, especially with all these cloud versions.
I don't think it is. I think I still got a chance at that one. We'll see.
I'm letting the community add those up because there's no way I'm going through and counting how many AAA ports
I'm gonna
have come
do it.
to.
And if you don't
Oh,
check
I'm
my
not
math, then
trusting you. No way.
Well, so you're just gonna make our community do it? Hey, listeners, you already give me your time and money. Why don't you do some free labor for me and go count all these third-party ports? If somebody volunteers to do it, fine. But otherwise, I'm doing it. And if you don't want to fact check me,
Okay.
that's on you.
I'll fact check you if it comes out in your favor.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't know, any other ones that you guys want to touch on?
I wanted to mention real quick, in the sizzle reel, they quietly put like an English release date for Rune Factory 5. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to that one. And it was
I kind of want to
like,
try to get
oh,
into
yeah,
Rune Factory. I've had it
I've been
recommended to
wanting
me.
to try it out, yeah. I hear really good things about it. Animal Crossing fans tend to say it's a great game. I know we have Rune Factory 4 on the Switch right now, but I'll
I
probably
was
start with 5.
Well, another RPG I was so curious about was the Voice of Cards. It was
I did
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
it's
look of that.
a tabletop RPG. I don't know if it was originally a tabletop RPG and then they brought it to a video game, or if they've just made a video game tabletop RPG, which would be wild. But I really liked the look of it, and I think it would, as someone who loves board games and RPGs, I think it probably would be my kind of thing.
Yeah, that definitely piqued my interest too. It's coming out at a bad time.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of
Terrible time.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time for games right now.
Who does anymore?
But you know what? Actually, before we get away from it too far, you mentioned the cloud version. We did get a look at Dying Light 2 is actually getting a cloud version, which takes us into a question that we got from Asobi, who wrote in and said, opinion on cloud games. Have you tried some? Would you like a specific game to get a cloud version, which you would like to play on Switch? I haven't. My opinion on cloud games is that I'm not interested in them. I have a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox and a PC. If I want to play any of the games that have gotten cloud versions on Switch, my advice is that unless Switch is the only platform that you play on, you're better off getting it on another platform.
Yeah, 100%. I've tried a couple of the cloud versions. The last one that in recent memory was Control on Switch. Actually ran pretty well, to be honest, considering my internet connection's not the greatest. I mean, my home broadband is through 4G, so it's going through a cellular connection over Wi-Fi to the Switch. It's got had terrible latency, but it still managed to play okay, which I was surprised about. But when you compare that to it playing natively on an Xbox, it's night and day difference. The performance on the Xbox just like wipes the floor with it. However, I do like cloud, what Microsoft is doing with the cloud, which is it's an option. You can play it on the console, and the cloud is there if you want to. And it kind of allows you to try these games before you go ahead and download them. And I think that kind of is compelling to me, that if I could maybe have a taste of these games before I just committed to buy them and download them, or if it was, say, I don't know, say like Nintendo had like a service like Switch Online where it extended to Switch games, and I could just try them before I even bothered downloading them and wasting all that bandwidth and time. I like that aspect of the cloud, but playing a game like when it is the only option, I just will never bother.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes against what the Switch is as well. You know, even in the Dying Light trailer, it was play this, and it's the cloud version, and then it's like, oh, and you can play the prequel and take it away with you. And it's sort of like, yeah, that was the whole idea of the Switch, that I can take it away with me and leave the house and continue to play the game, which I can't do if it's a cloud version and it's over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's like, how would you like to pay the same amount of money for a definitively less good version of the game that you can only play when you're connected to the internet? You know, it's like, no thanks. Mm-hmm. It's just not, I just don't think it's a good deal. Like, if you're a person who only plays on Switch, then I'm sure you're happy about those games, and I'm sure that there are people who match that use case. I know there are folks that only play their Switch docked, so fair play. But for me, it just doesn't fit my use case. So I've never taken the plunge. So we had one more question from Nina I wanted to ask before we get into the Animal Crossing side of things, because I really want to let Chuy pontificate for a minute or two on that. But Grizzly Nina asked, what game looked awful for you guys? The only game I thought looked awful was Disney Magical World 2, which is just like, oof, Jesus Christ, this game looks stiff.
Yeah, I didn't think Chocobo GP looked particularly great, and it very much just felt like a rip-off game. And I'm never a big fan of when...
It looked fine, I thought. Like, it looks like a fine enough kart racer, but it's like, why would you buy this when you could play Mario Kart?
Yeah,
or Sonic Racing, or Crash Team Race? Like, there's so many better kart games. It's like, even for like indie stuff, like there's like that game Bears Can't Drift, which is like a Crash team racing, like spiritual successor type game.
There
like,
was a fruit one as well, I'm sure of. Like,
oh yeah. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I just looked it up. I think the Disney Magical World 2 is a port of a 3DS game. So I don't know.
What?
Makes sense why they all look like Mii's then.
Yeah, they all looked kind of like Mii's and everything.
Is this a thing you needed to put in a Nintendo Direct?
I guess so.
When Disney's giving you lots of money, it is. Yes.
Yeah, Disney
That's
has
true.
a lot of money.
That's
take
true.
it.
Yeah.
You take it when you can.
Fair enough. Speaking of which, that also... No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joey.
Oh, I was trying to think. I don't think it looked terrible, but I just thought it was funny that they're like, Monster Hunter Rise, Sunbreak DLC.
Here's a cinematic.
So strange. And it was the way they opened it as well. It was...
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's like...
They opened with it.
It
and
is
then
big news.
Yeah,
but then they opened with this 30-second trailer and then spent 5 minutes breaking down the trailer, and it was like, you just showed us this footage and there was nothing to show.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I find it funny because we saw like a couple announcements that were like that, where it was just like, there's gonna be stuff later. That Smash got that, Animal Crossing got that,
yeah.
And it felt very much like, here's a setup that we're gonna tell you stuff, but nothing really big.
It's like ads for ads. It's like, all right, okay.
It gave that vibe. So yeah, I don't think that stuff looked terrible, but I just thought that was kind of a funny approach for a Direct this time around.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll close things out here by talking about the Direct that was announced, right? That there's going to be an Animal Crossing Direct in October. It came alongside the reveal that, of course, Brewster is back. He's been added to the museum this time around, which is interesting, but yeah, that's cool. So I guess, Chuy, first of all, what are your feelings on that, right? Of seeing Brewster back in the game, that he is part of the museum and everything rather than its own building, which I remember you called out on the stream, but also, like, what are your big hopes for that Direct?
So I'll say with the Brewster stuff, it kind of confirms some of the suspicions I've had with like the development of this game, where the team pushed it as much as they could to let you like decorate everything pretty freely, and the way they limit that is like the buildings that we're seeing on the island. Like a lot of special characters are like just visitors. Leaf doesn't have a shop, Kix doesn't have a shop, and I was like, honestly, they're probably going to stick Brewster back in the museum because of that. Brewster started out in the museum, so it's kind of like, a nice little coming home for him. He was there in Wild World and City Folk. So that part's nice. I don't think it's a bad thing, but there's also like a good potential there with this one in specific. We don't have gyroids in this game yet, and I've always wanted gyroids to be like a museum exhibit in the game, like something you
Oh,
can
okay.
collect and donate in there. In the past, Brewster has held on to your gyroids in City Folk specifically, so I'm like, I wonder if those are going to come back as a collectible and just be something that we can just contribute to the island again. I feel like the collecting and catching and donating to the museum aspect is a huge part of it. And I'm done. Like my museum's complete where it is right now, so I'm just like, give me something else. I'm down.
Have gyroids not been next to your house since the first game, right? Like, did they take those out in City Folk?
Yeah, it was literally only the first game
Okay.
that had like your little personal gyroid assistant that was there to answer the door for you.
And save the game.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
As far as hopes though for
Yeah.
that, I want it to be the 2.0 update. I feel like it feels like it's going that direction just because it's very rare that we get another direct for a game. We'll see it for like Smash and stuff where I think leading up to release that game got like 3 directs or something like that.
Yeah, it was one just dedicated to menus, Chewy.
I know it was unnecessary. The menus are still not great.
You leave
in my
Sakurai
opinion.
alone.
His
Giving us his
menu
blood,
design
sweat,
needs
and
help.
tears, okay?
But of problems to have, that's not the worst problem. But yeah, it's very rare that we see a direct like later in a game's life, and like usually it'll be a direct announcement with an update. So when it comes to these types of things, I think back to when we got the Welcome Amiibo update for New Leaf, which was like 3 years after the fact
Mhm.
that game was out. And so seeing this one a year and a half later, I'm like, okay, there's got to be some big stuff in this to have a whole direct be Animal Crossing.
Do
Well,
you
you mentioned Amiibo. Like you said, there's some new Amiibo cards coming as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, so afterwards, there was a tweet on the Japanese Animal Crossing Twitter, and it's since been added to the US one as well. There's going to be a fifth series of Amiibo cards. So the way they work, there's 4 series, and then there's a Welcome Amiibo series, and then there's going to be this fifth series. And basically, I'm just like, yes, more cards, give them to me. This will address some of the characters that don't have amiibo cards at the moment. Those are all like the new villagers that we gotten, the new special characters like um, Daisy May and Flick and CJ. Like a lot of those don't have amiibo at the moment, so it'll be a nice little update for them. And I kind of wonder if it'll be another 100 card set, but I'm already kind of planning on a video to talk about like what could fill up this roster of
Very nice.
cards. Because there's options. There's definitely options.
Cool. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that the the update that came to New Leaf, which was what was it called? It was Amiibo.
Welcome Amiibo.
Welcome Amiibo. That
Mhm.
came like 3 years into the cycle of New Leaf. So I guess my question is, do you feel like this direct is going to, like, assuming that it is going to announce kind of the 2.0, are you imagining that it's going to be like is this the only updates that's going to come, or do you think that they're going to be announcing that update and that it's going to come at a later date? Because like when you think about it, the game's only been out for a year and change.
Yeah.
Does it feel too soon?
It's definitely not too soon. People need an update for this game. I'd say looking at what we've gotten in year 2, like the game came out March 2020, right? And since March 2021, the updates have definitely been smaller. The one right at the end there was like pretty decent, where we got the Sanrio amiibo. So that one was like cool. We got something pretty decent, but like since then, it's literally been like here's this event to get rehashed, and unfortunately, some of them are like not even replayable the way that's set up right now. Like the
Oh,
Bunny
that's a
Day
shame.
event, I mean, who wants to replay it really? But like I literally just talked to Zipper T Bunny and he was like, "Cool, you're done." And I was like, "Sweet, I didn't do anything this year because I did it all last year." You know?
Right.
Oh, so they
So
never even added any new content for it whatsoever? I thought they might
there
have.
were a few new items to buy at Nook's Cranny, but
That was
nothing
all.
else. Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's a
was it. I
shame.
think there was like 5 items. And we've kind of seen that with each event since then, where it was like there was a few new items for the fireworks thing. I think there's going to be some new items for Halloween and everything, but there wasn't anything that really changed the gameplay behind those things. So I think we're at the point where it's just like the teams probably had like little things to, add and keep the updates coming, but I think they've been working behind the scenes to start like a new update plan to kind of like circle back to what you were asking. I think this will be the start of an update plan cycle. Basically, I think we're going to get something huge in November or whatever. I think they did confirm that November is going to be when this update actually happens, but I think that'll launch like a new little set of free updates.
Okay. Kind of like a season 2 thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And I think that works for Animal Crossing since it is supposed to be like pretty seasonal and, go throughout the year.
Do
Yeah,
you think we'll see? Oh, sorry, Pete.
I was gonna say I agree. I would love to see more. I would love to have more reason to feel like I'm getting pulled back to it because like I want to keep
Hmm.
playing the game, but I feel like so many of us, right? Like I mainlined it and I feel like I've kind of exhausted a lot of the things I felt like doing and haven't felt super motivated to jump back in when there have been even seasonal
Mhm.
things I've been excited for, right? Like I never did the Halloween stuff. That's always my favorite time of year in Animal Crossing and I feel like I really missed out,
Hmm.
but I'm not I don't know, I'm not having that pull back to it. And I would love to have a big meaty update that feels like, there's new things for me to do, that there's like stones that are left unturned.
Yeah, and that's all I want for people too. I'm like, I want people to just really be pumped for this game again. It was fun when everybody was playing it.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see the reveal or maybe the discussion of the paid DLC that's been spoken about? I think it was Doug
Mm.
Bowser that said that they are actively looking to develop some paid DLC for Animal Crossing, or do you think that's going to come further down the line and we're just going to see about Brewster and then maybe the next one that we're going to hear about on the kind of timeline?
Mm. I guess I don't think paid stuff has been confirmed quite yet, but honestly, I think it'll probably happen at some point. Technically, I guess the Amiibo cards are kind of paid DLC, especially you could look at the Sanrio cards like that because that's content that you literally cannot get without them. I mean, you can get the items, but like if you want the characters to live on your island, you can't do that without buying the cards themselves. So, I don't know. I think we'll probably still get like amiibo cards as the paid DLC, but at some point I wouldn't mind a like true paid DLC package for the game.
I feel like I want one. I feel like that's what I need. I feel like I need a paid
Hmm.
DLC that is big enough that it really feels like it's expanding things.
Yeah.
I think that's going
Yeah.
to be the
Even
thing.
if it's even if it's something that just like I think we should probably make a topic of this on 1 week's Nintendo noise, but like taking the plane to somewhat other than just a mystery island that's just a it's like, oh, is the tarantulas on this one, or is it just the one
Hmm.
with the swirl? And it's like, let's go somewhere new, maybe a different like, because it's always the
Maybe
same
the
weather.
city. Maybe we go to the city.
I don't
Maybe
want to go to the
maybe
city. I
there's
don't like city
maybe
folk.
there's a city that we can go to, but I won't have to use a Wiimote to go around it. That would be really cool. I would like that.
You know, I think the most likely or slash easiest thing to do as paid DLC for Animal Crossing would be unfortunately like a multiplayer, like mini game DLC thing. We've seen them do that with Luigi's Mansion 3 in the past, where we got like literally just paid multiplayer DLC for that game. And then as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man, that's how Animal Crossing's gonna do it one day.
I would
I
vibe
think.
with that though, because like I feel
And
like that was the most fun thing to do. I mean, granted, right, like pandemic, everything, but like we literally streamed it every Thursday for like months, and we would just get
Yeah.
on the island and fuck around, you know, and like I feel like that, like having more things to do with the group would be fun, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah, and that said, like I wouldn't mind it, but I think like it's hard for me to imagine what paid DLC would look like for Animal
Sure.
Crossing. So
yeah,
I
I guess
think
if
like
it's paid
that
and
would be
then
the safe point.
does everyone have to own it to do it? Because then it's like that really limits
Mhm.
how much you're gonna probably use it. But like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way, I hope it is. I hope that this direct announces a paid DLC. I would love to see them be that bold.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
But yeah, maybe we'll talk about that on this week's Nintendo Noise, or the next one or something like that. I know we got some indie game impressions to do this week. But speaking of which, thank you for joining us here on this very special episode of Nintendo Noise. Again, if this is your first time joining us, we're a weekly Nintendo podcast. Go check us out. We're fairly new, but it's a great show, and I promise that if you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy the rest of them because we bring the heat every single week. Let's be honest; it's a fantastic podcast. You know, I'm proud to be on it. So you can go check it out, and you can also check out our sister show, the Flip Screen Games podcast, where Steve and I talk about stuff outside the world of Nintendo. We just did Deathloop, talking about that last week and whether or not it's Game of the Year. So if that's like your bag, go check that out as well. If you like non-Nintendo games, we've got some non-Nintendo conversation for you over there. And then, of course, we're also streaming games on Twitch every Thursday night, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, a different time if you don't live on the East Coast. But, you know, you just do a little bit of that translation, right? And you'll figure it out. You got it. You're a smart kid. I believe in you. But every Thursday, we're there. We're streaming games together, and it's a good time. So come check that out if you're not already doing it. And of course, you can head over to flipscreen.games, which is our website. We have links to our Discord, our social media, all the other places that we're out there doing things. You can go check those out. And of course, thanks again to our Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and we appreciate your support over there. So until the next Nintendo Direct, we'll see you next week for another episode of Nintendo Noise.